Hey everyone, this is Mac Pilley. Welcome back to LMIPodcast on the road. I'm here in Chicago at the ABA Dispute Resolution Section Spring Conference. It's April 2025, and I'm here with Jim Malamed and Claire Fowler, and we're at the Mediate.com exhibitors table in the exhibitors hall. And so it's been good to see everybody and to connect with folks that I've only met online all over these years. And so, Jim, how are you doing today?
Doing real well.
Yes. Claire?
Doing amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining me, and thank you for coming on. And so just wanted to go around and interview a couple tables to have them kind of tell their story while they're here, and share with you what they're doing that's trending these days, and to get people excited about maybe joining Mediate.com and tell us what's happening. So let's start with the basics. Give us a backstory, what Mediate.com does, where it came from, what was the idea, and then slowly bring us now towards the present. If you could go ahead, Jim, and this is kind of ad lib, as we say, and so we're just going to take it as...
Yeah, the quick overview is that there was an organization, ConflictNet, that got started 8 years before the commercial internet that tied together the dispute resolution industry. And it was back in 1996 when the graphical internet really hit, and every mediator needed a website. And that was the time that we started Mediate.com. We were right about that guess, that every mediator would need a website. Well, since that time, really the entire mediation process has become digitized, if you will. And this was tested by COVID, where suddenly we couldn't physically get together, and suddenly all mediation was being done online. And in fact, we rose to the occasion, and now Mediate.com has continued to embrace technology. We'll talk a little bit about the utilization of AI, the development of platforms for courts and agencies and companies. But clearly, mediation, every mediation is now an online mediation. Even if you get physically together, you still need to do the online really well.
Yeah.
Claire?
And you want to add to that, Claire?
Of course, I want to add something. That's what I do. So I remember when you first started talking about online dispute resolution 8 years ago, 10 years, right?
Well,
when we were starting to talk about
in the year 2000, because we spun off online resolution with Colin Rule as a purely textual platform, but we were too early. And now what has happened over the last 20 years is that the internet has sped up, text, image, audio, video, and remarkably, we have achieved what we call the Holy Grail, which is the online being just about as good as being there, and far more accessible, far more affordable.
Yeah. So when we first started talking about this, I remember thinking, that's great for them, but I'm a purist, right? I want to be in the room with the clients, and I want to see their eyes and smell their pheromones and really be there to experience. And I thought that there wasn't really anything online that could mimic that, right? Or have the mediation experience be as powerful. And obviously, we've realized with Zoom that things have changed, and that most of the time it wasn't as much about me being comfortable, but it was what's going to fit my clients the best, right? What is going to serve their purpose? What is going to make them the most comfortable? And sometimes that is face-to-face and being in person, but we realize that a lot of the time it really is, they want to be in their living room in their fuzzy slippers, right? And that's where they're feeling at peace. And even more than that, with the incoming generation, I mean, my kids are so much more comfortable communicating on their phone, right, than they are face-to-face. That just feels a little bit too intimidating, too personal. And these are going to be our clients in the next 5 to 10 years. And so I do think it's not an option anymore, right? It's a requirement for your mediation practice to learn how to use these tools, because that's what the majority of our clients are just going to feel more comfortable communicating with.
And minimally, folks are going to find their mediator online and vet their mediator online, contact the mediator, schedule with the mediator online. And so you just have to master these online aspects. Not to say developing the document, track changes, DocuSign, satisfaction surveys. Mediators are now recognizing that they need to meet the current sensibilities of the marketplace, and that includes being readily available to your online customers.
So is Mediate.com's big focus on mediators themselves or to the public who are looking for mediators, or is it both?
Well, I'll say it's both. the one thing we want to do is help mediators expedite their development. This now includes Mediate University with 30 plus online trainings. So I'll go there.
And so you're right. It's not an either or. It's definitely a yes and, right? And so we're trying to hit three different parts of the market. And the first is what Jim was just mentioning, which is what he's been doing for 30 years, which is helping to support mediators, to grow their practices, to help them to be the best mediator they can be. And so we do that with a variety of trainings, focus groups, webinars. We do a lot of career support, coaching to make sure that they can be as efficient in the process as possible. And so if you're not doing that, make sure to reach out, right? Because we love doing that, having one-on-one conversations with our mediators. But we also have a site that we're just launching called mediate.info. And that's to serve the public. So that's a place where the public can go, and if they have any questions, then there are a lot of articles out there that they can look at, but we also have quizzes so that they can say what type of mediation is this, and what is the right solution? Because sometimes mediation is the right solution, but sometimes it's arbitration or an ombuds or a facilitator or go to court or all these different things. And so we are trying to launch tools that will also support the public. And then if they say, oh yeah, mediation is definitely the right solution, then we put them in touch with one of our mediators. And then the third thing that we're doing is, like you mentioned, where it's very tech focused. But we've sort of split that side of the company off to form ODR.com. And that's more of a case management, that's support for a lot of large organizations, courts, agencies, et cetera. So we're a three-legged stool, I guess.
Yeah, so it's crazy because we've really gone from individualized mediations, brick and mortar offices, isolated from one another, to, I will overspeak, I don't want to say we're taking over the court system, but the reality is the court resources are not infinite. 97% of cases never go to a judge. They settle. And so what we're really trying to do is assist them to most capably settle, and to settle earlier and more affordably, more pleasantly, and hopefully not only preserve relationships, but enhance relationships.
Gotcha. And I can vouch for Mediate.com myself. I became a member of Mediate some time ago, and I've gotten calls from it already. And there's different levels that you can join in. I think there's three, right? There's the base, the middle tier. I think I'm in the middle, and then there's the highest one where you are featured more often. But I was going to ask, I know Colin Rule came in some years back, and then he's really developed it further. But what's your current role, Jim, in Mediate.com?
Yeah, I was the CEO for 25 years, and then COVID hit, and Colin became available. He had just finished an earn-out with Tyler Technology, and I said, Colin, this is the time. And again, we had tried online resolution in the year 2000 with just text, but what COVID proved and Zoom proved is that you really could do it online. It's different, developing rapport. It's a bit more caucus-based conversations rather than as much joint. But it's also very nimble and very flexible. You don't have people taking off work and driving through traffic and paying for parking and waiting in the waiting room and getting by the receptionist and because they scheduled 2 or 4 hours, meeting the full time. But rather, you really in the online environment are able to tailor the process to the needs of the folks, and it's not ideal. I'd rather have warm cookies and hot cocoa, during the meeting, but it's so much more affordable, so much more accessible for most people. It makes more sense.
Yeah, the whole access to justice thing, takes new meaning whenever we talk about online mediation.
Or access to resolution is what we speak of, because the justice is defined by the folks. In mediation, 100% self-control. Nothing is imposed on them. If they don't reach agreement, it's all confidential, never be held against them. Yeah. That's the compelling thing about. The other compelling thing about mediation is we're always searching for optimized solutions. There's no winner and loser, prevailing. We're trying to figure out what are the maximized arrangements that can help both of these folks move forward.
And Claire, what are you doing in Mediate.com right now? And can you talk to us then about the future as well? And then you can give it back to Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got like 4 hours, right, to talk about everything we're trying to do. So what I do, I'm the vice president of Mediate.com. And It's been a small company for so long, and we always wore so many different hats. But what has been nice about us separating and having the ODR.com side, and then also partnering with AAA, right, the American Arbitration Association, is that we got to take off some of those hats, because American Arbitration Association is helping with a lot of pieces. And we've pushed a lot of the product and case management over into the ODR.com side, where we have a huge team in India, a team up in Canada and Seattle and California, right? We're in Arizona. So we have people now to help with all of that. So what that means is, Jim, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, but what we've been able to do is really kind of get back to our roots at mediate.com and focus on supporting the mediator. And so we're doing that with, we're increasing a lot of our trainings. And so we're trying to develop a lot of new basic mediation training, a lot of training on AI, how to incorporate that into your practice, career support. And then we especially because of Jim and his background, we've always had such a strong divorce and family mediation base, but now we're also trying to move more into the labor and employment, the HR space, commercial, and be able to focus on those mediators, because that field is thriving, right? Now insurance companies are approving mediation as an EAP benefit, right? The Employee Assistance Program. So what that means is that we're seeing workplace mediation skyrocketing. And so we want to make sure that we have the right training and career coaching and guidance plans, and we're setting up a mentorship program just to be able to help those mediators to make sure that they have the right training, the right connections, so that they can get the cases. Yeah.
Yeah, so they gave me a title, founder, senior vice president, mediation. I don't even know what it means, to be honest with you. But in this new world, I've become convinced that the optimized system is integrating automation. For example, people don't like to be asked the same question twice online. They don't think you're listening and really registering. So there's a measure of automation. Anything that can be easily, effectively automated, not overwhelming to the parties, so you got to dose it kind of. So there's automation. There's AI, which is really fascinating. I thought we would be teaching the clients about AI. It's the opposite. They come in having already explored AI relative to their situation. So we need to be able to have an intelligent conversation with them. And the cool thing about AI is, just like mediation, it's all about the questions you ask, the prompts, if you will. And so the artfulness of the questions and being able to ask helpful, what might be an exchange, what might be solutions here, what might be a package deal that could satisfy both parties. So it's all about the questions you ask. So automation, AI, and then the real challenge is the human touch. Okay, people want that experience, that there's really a person there that is getting them, that is understanding them, and is working with them to get as much satisfaction as they possibly can. So that's the challenge for the future. I'm sure we'll make mistakes, but we'll get ever better. That's the nature of it.
Yes, and so later today we'll be having a takeaway section with different participants and just kind of asking them, so from this whole couple days, what have you taken away that you can go back home with and use in your practice? Do you guys have any takeaways?
Well, one thing I'm concerned about is this has been such an enjoyable conference and such a fantastic facility, but ABA Dispute Resolution section is talking about next year's conference being purely online. And so this is a huge organizational challenge for all of us. Obviously, we want to have ongoing, valuable online opportunities, but the collegiality of getting together is also really special and satisfying to us in the field. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to follow up that. That was pretty good. So the sessions have been incredible. I hope you've been able to sit in on some of them. And I think some of the takeaways that I've been hearing are some of the things that we've been noticing in the field is that because of the move to online, that the mediation process is really chunking, right? So instead of it just being where you sit in a room for 8 hours, now we're focusing more on issues. And so that, of course, is having major changes with our process. And some of those chunks can be automated. Some of those can be dealt with through AI, like a solution explorer might be able to help people with certain pieces. But then they'll come to the mediator for other chunks. And I believe that's also changing our billing process. And so it's been interesting to hear mediators talking about that. The mediator, I know what he's going to say, so I'm just going to jump. That a lot of clients want that fee certainty, right? They want to know that instead of the mediators just racking up hour after hour, because there is that concern in the legal field, that instead they say, all right, for a parenting plan renegotiation, it's going to be a set price of $1,000, for instance. Go ahead.
So I'm a great believer, some mediation better than no mediation.
Yep.
And one of the failings in the past has been the hourly billing for lawyers, and we kind of just adopted that. But on the internet, price certainty is essential, okay? People want to know, what's my worst case? How much is it going to cost me? But the other thing I think that is critical is giving people a chance to just put their foot in the water of mediation a little bit. So the concept of a preliminary mediation consultation, not necessarily with a mediator that would be their mediator, but rather a experienced mediator. They can ask all the questions, the concerns they have. It could be individual, it could be joint. But just as an illustration, you give them an hour for $100, okay? They get all their questions answered, they get a sense of whether it's going to be successful, and if they want to move forward, then we move forward. Now, there's different models. The historic model is people would search for the best mediator and try to get on that person's schedule, often 3 weeks, 3 months downstream. Well, we're now seeing outfits that are saying, if you decide you want a mediator, we've got a stable of a couple dozen really qualified people. We can have you a mediator tomorrow or next Monday if you would like. And so what they're doing is making the selection of mediator less personal, if you will, and more systemic. And this is, I think, a benefit, diversification of the marketplace. We need to have mediation as accessible, as affordable as possible, and as available as promptly as possible.
Yeah, no, some years ago I started the instantmediations.com thing, and that was the point, right?
Yes.
Because in my own world as a lawyer, I would have cases where I need to mediate because the courts require it before I go to trial or temporary orders hearings, but then it would take me weeks, sometimes months to get on the good mediators list.
Right.
Most of them were former judges, and the other side insisted, I have to use that mediator. Okay, fine, I like the mediator, but it's going to take us 2 months to get there. And so definitely accessibility is one of the big keys, and again, making it available to as many people as possible.
And scalability. Okay, so this is the ODR.com piece where we can go to the courts, we can go to the agencies and give them comprehensive, scalable systems available. And, they set the policies, but we provide the technology that allows that to happen.
Gotcha. So it was with lawyers, then the individual people out there, but now your focus is on the judges and the courts themselves, right?
They are the gatekeepers for dispute resolution in our society, and they can't handle the current caseloads. They simply can't. So we're actually working on the highest volume, small claims, traffic tickets, parenting disputes, modification actions, and if we can relieve the pressure on the courts, we're doing a service to everybody.
All right, guys. So we've talked a lot right now about mediate.com and what you guys are doing, ODR.com. And we can definitely have you guys back on the podcast in the future. But do you want to close us out with any other thoughts about the conference?
First, thank you so much for doing this. And I think it's always a treat when you tell people about the mediation field, right? Because it is, a lot of people know about it, but for a lot of people, it's still this undiscovered gem. And so the fact that you're bringing more light to it, I just wanted to say thank you. And for mediators out there, it can be a very isolating field. And so I just want to encourage you, connect as much as possible, right? Connect through podcasts like this, reach out to us. And I think the vision that Jim created 30 years ago was really to support mediators, because the more you support mediators, the more you're bringing peace to the world. So it's something that Colin always jokes that we're the missionaries of the field, because we really believe in this, and what that means is that we want to support mediators as much as we can through career coaching, through training, et cetera. So please reach out, get connected, whether it's with us or groups like yours, so that you don't feel isolated, but you realize that we're all, right, we're the rising tides, raising the conflict boats out there. Thank you.
And the best way to get in touch with you guys if they want to follow up?
Go to mediate.com, Jim at mediate.com, Claire, CLARE
Thank you.
at mediate.com. And finally, mediation is all about communication. And what we've done over decades now is help the field take advantage of elevating, diversifying communication options. Final comment from me. 3 most important things about mediation: rapport, rapport, rapport. The ability to establish a rapport relationship with people online is critical to having their trust and confidence, helping them move forward. So that's a new set of skills. And that's what we're trying to address now, is helping mediators be as effective as possible in the online environment.
Awesome. Jim, Claire, thank you so much for the talk today. Okay, everybody, LMIPodcast.com. Check this video out and all the other ones that we've done over the years. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Matt.